Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of Curious Creatures. So this week we will be designing a creature based on a deer, a bat, and a spider with 10 legs, 2 eyes, a stubby nose that lives in a marsh and can jump long distances. So let's have a look at a few references. So up the top we have the deer, and I've picked a cheetah deer, which is a beautiful spotted deer that lives in the Indian subcontinent. For the bat, I have picked a giant golden-crowned flying fox. And for the spider, I have picked my absolute favorite spider, which is a beautiful peacock spider, which is native to Australia. They're a type of jumping spider, and they are absolutely fantastic. All right, let's get to drawing. So as always, I'm going to start with a circle for the head. Now, all of these creatures have reasonably small, apart from the spider. The spider's head's much bigger to the size of the body, but I'm thinking I'm going to draw sort of the head about that size. And then we're going to come down and maybe have sort of a shorter neck, go into a body. Now I want the body to be sort of nice and reasonable size, but not too big. And we have our 10 legs. So I'm going to go for a spider's legs, obviously. So some beautiful spider's legs. So I might have, I'm just going to think about, I'm going to maybe think about drawing them some different types of poses. So maybe we'll have one here. And remember, we are doing 10, so we need 5 on each side. Maybe there's going to be one that's hanging here. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to put around it. So I'm perhaps going to build in some different trees or grasses or bushes that it's going to lean against. But that's something I'll think about soon. Maybe it's really reaching down and something like that. So that's our first 5. So I'm just going to start with 5 first, and I'll put the other ones in after. And a tail. Now, the deer has a little tail, but most of the others, the tails aren't particularly prominent. So I don't think I'm going to include a tail with this particular creature. I'm just going to move him down a little bit so I've got a bit more room. But of course, I'm going to put in some wings. So what I might do is this first arm up here, I'm going to turn into the wing, because obviously with a flying bat, with a flying fox, sorry, their wings are spread from their arm and attached to their body. So maybe kind of do that, almost a bit like a sail. So maybe something like that. I'll work all of that out. All right, we've got our very basic framework in there. And so now it's time to start refining our details. So I will clean up some of my line work as I go so you can see what I'm drawing. Now we have beautiful, beautiful faces on all of these animals. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do something a bit like a bat's face, sort of coming down to, there's more of a sort of a triangular sort of face, this nice curved face here. And we're going to have a stubby nose, so we'll end it maybe a bit flat. So we're going to have a stubby nose here like this. So we're going to, and maybe do a big stubby nose. Yeah, we're going to have a big nose at the end. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, but that's all right. Big stubby nose like that. And going to come back into the eye. Maybe we're going to have, we've only got 2 eyes, so maybe we're going to do eyes sort of similar to a deer's eyes. So quite nice and large, round, and sitting sort of around that side of our face. And should we have ears? Maybe we're going to have nice little pointed bat ears like this. Nice little ears like this. And then some horns, some antlers, because it's a terrible ear. Let me draw that again. There we go. And some beautiful antlers. Nope, I can't get this. There we go. Beautiful antlers. I'll get there, guys, I promise. So, the antlers of the cheetah deer have a little bit of the bone going to the front and then curving up to these beautiful branched sections up here. So we're just going to draw some of them in, and you can go as detailed or as simple as you like. And I think we're going to do the two branches. You can always do one. You can make it a single-horned creature rather than a double-horned. It's entirely up to you. And then we'll be able to see maybe just a little bit of the other ear. And just think about how it's going to merge into the head and then how that's all going to come together. And we'll put in a bit of a mouth. Do something a bit like that. Yeah, there we go. All right, and now we're going to move into the body. So we're just going to think about how we're going to connect the body in. So we're going to need a bit of a neck. And we're going to have this very powerful body. So I'm thinking might have some nice big chest muscles there. And we're going to go into the wing. So I apologize, guys. And as I said, I'm just going to clean up some of my lines as I go so you can see what we're doing. Now, we'll add some claws in at this point. And because this is a flying fox, we'll be able to very clearly see sort of the arm muscles, kind of also the arm shape coming in like this. Whereas some bats, it's a lot more skeletal. This bat has quite strong, fully formed arms. And then we're going to come down and create this beautiful, beautiful shapes. They're all actually going to come out of the wrist because they're all technically sort of almost like long fingers. So we might have little claws on the end of each of these, little bits of our fans, and then we're going to come down and we'll do one more like that. And I think we'll join in somewhere here. We'll join it into the body sort of part way down, not all the way down, but quite far down. So it's going to be more of a, maybe more of a gliding, flying bat. We'll see how we go. All right, and now let's add in our other legs. So we had one leg which was kind of coming down like this. And I think if we're going to be grasping, we want to sort of holding on to things, we might want to add in sort of more of those clawed fingers, which is what a bat has. Something like that. And you can do whatever kind of arms or legs that you would like. If you would like to do more of a more spidery legs, we can do those, or you can do maybe hooves that we have on deers. You could perhaps do some of those. So think about how your creature is moving around the environment, and that will help you decide how you want to create it. So this one I'm going to have, maybe it's just holding, it's really reaching down, got very long, just going to touch the ground, whatever the ground there is, just going to touch it. And our last one, which again, maybe we'll be holding on to something. Alrighty, and now let's add in our other side. So again, think about well, our front arm will be coming up because it will be part of the wing. Now, because we'll be seeing the other side of the wing, the top side, we won't be able to see the arm clearly. So we'll just do a little bit of an indicator there. And likewise, we won't be able to see too much. So we're just going to do sort of some shapes like that, just to give an idea that there's something going on underneath it. And add in our other limbs. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's go 7. And maybe this one's going to be reaching out. So think about all the different ways you could show movement and gesture. What is your creature actually doing? And think about all of those. And so I'm going to go up and then something like that, and then what we haven't done is we haven't actually drawn the underside of our creature. So I'm just going to add that in a little bit here so that when I'm drawing it, it actually makes a bit more sense. Alright, so before I add in the last leg, we really should finish off the last of the body. So let's just think about how you want to do it. So we didn't originally add in a tail, but I'm actually thinking maybe now we do need a tail. So I'm thinking it might not be a big tail, but I'm actually going to maybe add in, thinking I'm going to be inspired by the cheetah's deer tail, where I'm going to have this smooth, and then maybe it's going to be a little furry underneath, maybe something like that. Yeah, that could work. And then we're going to have that last arm reaching out. So we're almost kind of looking a little bit at the underside of our creature here as well. So we're technically being able to see a bit of the belly. And maybe we're going to do, maybe we'll add in some markings. So think about if you want to add in some markings now, you know, maybe we're going to have some spots. So I'm going to add in some spots similar to the cheetah. Maybe along the legs and the face and the back. So some beautiful markings, a bit like that. And yeah, maybe we're going to be a bit furrier. Maybe we're going to have this sort of almost like a furry chest hair, which is sort of reminiscent of the bat, how we've got this beautiful, almost like a furry mane kind of coming down and around. So if you're going to make changes to your designs, this is where you can make changes at any time, guys. It's all about refining your idea. Yes, I think that looks a bit better. And we're just going to add in some extra spots like that. Yeah, all right, I'm pretty happy with that. And now we are jumping long distances, so it kind of looks a bit like he's jumping maybe a little bit right now, so that's fantastic. And a marsh, so he jumps and he glides, so he's a glider. And a marsh, so for a marsh is sort of a watery, boggy land, so similar to some of our wetlands that we can get, but there's lots of different types of marshes. So think about grass and water and maybe a few trees. So I'm thinking that maybe we're going to have like a little grassy, I'm going to call it a hillock, so a little grassy section that kind of comes up here. And then maybe there's a tree coming out of it. Maybe it's all lots of twisted branches. So I'm just going to think about where it's holding, and maybe it covers the tail. So maybe we're going to have lots of little branches doing things. Not quite sure. Have some fun with this, guys, so we can be really creative with our environment design as well as our creature design, so we can really play on some shapes. I'm thinking I'm going to have lots of curvy bits. Maybe we're going to have all these curly bits coming into the tree, so you can really have some fun with it. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then maybe we're going to have lots of sort of, maybe this is a little grass hillock inside of the marsh. So then he's going to need to look at jumping over to the next one, which might be a lot shallower. It's just a little bit of water, a little bit of a grass coming out of the water. And then maybe in the background we can draw sort of other little ones coming out. So we can really start to explore the environment and come up with a bit of a world for where this creature lives. You know, maybe there's another smaller one in the background with maybe another tree on it. Something like that. And then we're just going to put in maybe a little bit of a horizon line. Just kind of back here. This is kind of maybe where the marsh ends, and maybe there's maybe we can see that it kind of just fades off into the distance a little bit. Maybe there's a few more trees, and we'll just draw them a little bit smaller to give an idea that this is really far in the distance. Really think about all the different design elements that you can play with. Maybe there's a bit of a tree forest over here. My very loose curly trees, and maybe there's another tree here. Again, kind of going back into the distance. Yeah, and maybe we've got, as I said, we can just start playing with expanding it. So maybe we've got another creature back here. So another one, the same species, kind of living on the tree there to give an idea of how small it is. And maybe, maybe we've got some hills kind of going into the background. So maybe it's low marshy region. We've got some hills in the background. And maybe we've got the sun just coming up over the hill. I don't know. Have a think, have a play, guys. This is the fun part where we're just really just kind of building out the world and thinking up different ideas. So think about all the different sorts of things that you can add in. But I really like him. That looks really, really cool. It's a very cool creature. So I'm very excited to see what you guys come up with.